Whew. I'm sorry. Welcome to this episode of 60 Seconds, where we discuss health, well-being, food, fashion, all of the topics that we like to get into in 60 seconds. I just had a question. I was curious about why is it that the powers that be, well, I don't even want to call them the powers that be because that's misleading. Somewhere along the line, I realized that the alphabet boys were essentially a task force and a police force, if you will, for the powers that run the country, and that essentially own the people. That they were not this altruistic, altruistic entities that were looking out for the best interests or the protection of the people. In this system, there's a lot of bait and switch language that's used. So they'll tell you things like, we are your protectorate, but in fact, that's not what it is. Somewhere around 5 years ago, no, maybe 7 years ago now, I was reading a book called The Creature from Jekyll Island. And I got real curious as I'm reading the book, learning about the ways of those who run the central bank. I started poking around on the internet, and I kind of just happened to land on a website. And I was reading through the website, and it was basically a powerful group of elites had formed a think tank. And when you read the verbiage in this think tank, it was very clear what the agenda was. The agenda was very clearly stating, or alluding to the fact they wanted to suppress the power of the young black male. They wanted to suppress that and squelch it. Now, there's a lot of synchronicity in my life, so let me talk about it. I had been telling people, oh, look what I found, this is what I found out. But I couldn't remember the name of the organization, right? Couldn't remember. But I was like, yo, this is real. So I just cleaned out the garage. I'm cleaning up all the files and the old paperwork that I got, and I just happened to find this paper with the notes. So I found the notes that I was writing way 7 years ago, right? So the name of the organization was the Rockefeller Fund. Rockefeller Fund. And they have some property that they lease from the so-called government in upstate New York. A large plat of land. And they call forth all types of intellectuals, sociologists, you name it. And they all come here, and their whole plot is to figure out how to suppress the black boy. Now, I remember around the time that I was studying this book, I was in San Francisco at this, I think it was an Ethiopian restaurant. There was a young 24-year-old black African melanin-rich individual who was transplanted from Africa. He was here going to school at San Francisco State. He was working the front door at this restaurant. This was his part-time job. We got to talking, and he tells me that all the revolutions that happen in Africa are young people. So that I never knew that, but he was like, all the revolutions that happen in Africa are young people. So I said, oh. So this was really coincided with the information I was learning about this Rockefeller Fund, upstate New York, and their agenda to suppress the black boy. And then boom, it clicked. Boom. So fast forward, I'm thinking about, okay, if you're going to be a nation builder, if you're going to be, if you're going to do anything to try and help and organize your people, why is it that they killed Tupac, but they haven't killed some of the elders? I'm not going to say the elders' names. But we got some elders out here that preach, and the information that they bring forth is fire. Who comes to mind? Dick Gregory comes to mind. And there's many, many others. Why is it they haven't taken out Dick Gregory, but they took out a Tupac? Okay, it's very simple. In my estimation, it's about age. Age plays a big role in this. Number one, when you understand, there's a basic to many Europeans. Everybody, I've talked to European males who've been in the army, and they know that we the lion. They know that they can't touch us, that we strong. We're the strongest species right here on this planet. They know this. I mean, white boys is telling me this, right? And so what I've noticed is that there's a basic fear that white people have. So that's one level to it, is that when Tupac was out there spitting in cameras and going off, you know what I'm saying, that raised their flags, okay? Whereas you have the elders, they spitting this truth, and it's real good truth. But you're not going to gravitate towards the elders, so they don't have to worry about the elders. They worry about the Tupacs. Now, here's what I know. That's one part of it, is the way that he was approaching. He was raising their fears. When you're a Tupac and you come in at the camera like that, we know he was an intellectual as well. But whenever you do that, you're raising people's fears. So there's a political aspect where they may have to put that flame out because of all of the other white folks out here that they pulling the wool over their eyes. There's that part of it. But also is this, as I'm watching my son grow up, he naturally gravitates towards children his age. You know, like, why doesn't he naturally gravitate towards adults? If he sees a young child or person, that's where his attention and his focus is at. He ain't tripping off no old folks. He ain't tripping off nobody 30 years old. But somebody 2 years old to 6 years old, maybe 9, that's where he is. So birds of a feather flock together. So I think another reason why they had to squelch Tupac, it coincides with this agenda to squelch the black males, because young black males is going to gravitate to Tupac because he's their age. So when you have a young militant, if you think of, what was his name? Brilliant, mad brilliant Black Panther. I forget his name. What was his name? From Chicago. His son is doing his thing now too, the new Black Panther Party, I believe. I can't remember his name, but the FBI and the police in Chicago busted in his house while he was sleeping when he was 21 years old, killed him in his bed, cold blood. Fred Hampton. Brilliant. So he was intelligent, and all these other young black males is going to gravitate towards that. And that's what they don't want. They're not concerned with you older folks, okay? Because a lot of times you get stuck in your ways. The heretical nature, that nature and the ability to change is in the young folks. Now, they gave you some clues. There's a movie called The Golden Compass. It came out, it's for kids, I guess, but I don't think the shit is for kids, really. But it came, I seen it a bunch of years ago, like maybe 4 years ago, maybe longer than that, probably 5 or more years ago. Anyhow, it's a good movie, you know, but there's a message in there. Now, here's the deal. In the movie, all the human beings had what's called a daemon. You know, in the English way they spell it is D-A-E-M-O-N, but demon, right? But what the demon is the spirit. It's your spirit or your soul. In the movie, your spirit, your soul was visible. It was, it took the form of some type of an animal, and it can change shape. Now, here's the deal. The adults had the demons. The kids had the demons. Had the spirits, the souls. And you could see them. With the children, what was very distinctive about their demon was that it could change shape. It could change form. It could turn into a bird, to a dog, to a cat. And it would always change. It would never stay the same. Boom, boom. But with the adults, it didn't change shape at all. It got stuck. It got stuck. So there was an entity, a nation, whatever you want to call it. It was called the Magisterium. Now let me just clue you in. The Magisterium was the Vatican. That's exactly what it was. The Magisterium, the whole point in the plot of the movie was that the Magisterium, the Vatican, I'm just going to start using the Vatican. They were trying to cut people, the children's soul, off at a young age. They were trying to get rid of that spirit molecule. They were trying to get rid of heretics, as they called them. So they were trying to get rid of heretics, and so they were trying to develop a technology out in like the North Pole, which they called Bolvanga, like the North Pole out in the snow in the middle of nowhere. And they were trying to develop this machine that could cut their soul off so that they wouldn't have to worry about heretics. What does that mean? Anybody who could challenge their authority, anybody who could think for themselves, anybody who had the ability to change, right? So they could become what they need to become, right? To maybe overthrow or defeat the magisterium, the Vatican. So in the movie, they did develop the machine, and one of the main characters, they caught her, and this machine was like this electrical thing, and it was trying to cut through to cut her demon off, and she was getting weak, and her demon was getting weak, and all this kind of stuff. Long story short, they wasn't developing this technology for adults. They were developing it for the kids. And so when you look at adults and kids today, that's exactly what you see. Adults, it's hard for them to change. They get stuck in their ways. The neural nets in their brain have been formed. Whereas the children, what do? Got all this energy bubbling. They learn fast. The faster your heartbeat, the more you can learn, and all this. They're just in this, they're a sponge, right? Boom, boom, boom. So that's exactly what it is. So when I look out and I see them vaccinating children, fluoridating the water, genetically modified food, chemtrails, that is the machine. They may not have created the actual machine, but they've created some adjuncts. They've created some other elements that can do that very same thing. So if you give your kids the vaccinations, if you give them fluoridated water versus filtering the water, versus filtering it and then putting it in the sunlight so they can be solarized and become alive, stirring it before you drink it, because stagnant water is not good either. Praying love into the water, it works. Doing those types of things, right? Those elements that they've set up, the vaccination, everything I just mentioned, that's how they're trying to cut your soul, spirit, that changeable part, and get rid of potential heretics so they can get you in line. So the information is out here. You have lifestyle spies everywhere. You have authors who are lifestyle spies. You have directors who are lifestyle spies. You have business moguls who are lifestyle spies. You have speakers who are lifestyle spies. You have doctors like Dr. Africa. You have all types of people who are lifestyle spies, and they're putting the information out for you. What you have to do now is put the puzzle together. Gigabyte life. Wait a minute. Is that all I wanted to say? I just wanted to end on a real good note, like gigabyte life. I'm out. But let me come back. Any questions? So I just put the puzzle together for you, man. That's all I really want to say. That young black man, like when I look at the black boys today, like this new generation, they're smart. They're definitely smart. To me, they're more advanced than even my generation. But when you hear them talk, it ain't Fred Hampton coming out. Now, I know it's a bunch of them out there, but it seemed to me like back in them days, it was a lot of Fred Hamptons. It was a lot of brothers. We had great capacity, very creative. I watch a lot of old school culture, you know what I'm saying? Whether from dancing to music, and you could just see something, man, something beautiful about our people back then. You look at the situation now, it ain't looking too sharp. So we changing that. When you look up at the stars at night, just put a smile on your face, because everything is changing and it's becoming exactly what you believe it to be. All right, so let's get back to it though. Let's get beautiful again. And just so you know, I'm not a racist. I'm an ethicist. Okay, big difference. That word doesn't even exist, so I coined the term ethicist. All right. And now I know exactly how I'm going to define it, because I've been trying to define, how I feel about race and racism. There's different types of racism. You have your denotated racism and your connotated racism. The denotated is the original, and from what I understand, according to Claude Anderson, it's all dealing with economics, where people of a specific ethnicity get together so they can do something for their ethnicity, to protect their ethnicity, to push their culture, or whatever it is, right? And then you have the connotated racism, which is like bigotry, taking on a new meaning, the meanings that people have interpreted or just kind of giving it. And so my definition is transcends both of those, and I'm gonna assign the term ethicist to that. I gotta figure it out. I gotta like write it out and everything, but that's what I'm gonna do. So hey, that's the show. Thank you for tuning in. Hope you got something out of it. You know what I'm saying? Hit me up with comments and questions. Thank you. Peace.